Hello, everybody. You can't respond, and that's okay, because this is why it's a webinar. So this will be one-way traffic. And let me introduce myself. And my name is John Parr. I'm the contingent leader for Aj2025. And I guess the purpose tonight is just give everyone a bit of a rundown on what we've termed as the roadshow. And so our plan is to just run through that. You should hopefully have access to chat, and we're also recording tonight's meeting as well. So if you need to ask any questions, you can certainly do that via the chat, and we will try and get to those questions either on the fly or at the end. So we'll just see how we go with that. This is our first webinar, so it's a bit of a learning experience, but certainly welcome to everybody. I've got Nairi Johnson, who is our Director of Marketing PR and looking after our social media things. I'm sitting on the side as a member of the team. And so if Nairi can answer any questions, she certainly will. So we can go along there. So, but welcome to everybody to the Aj2025 Queensland Contingent presentation. So I'm going to make an attempt to share my screen and see how we go from there. So, alrighty, if that's all good, Nairi, you're monitoring what's going on. So the conversation will be with you. So you can let me know whether this is happening.
I've got the chat box for anyone who wants to ask a question. I'll be keeping an eye on that.
Great, thank you. Well, that's a good start, I think, Nairi. All right, so welcome everybody to the Queensland Contingent Roadshow presentation, and I'll go through this. But basically, hopefully we're going to be ready for adventure of a lifetime for Aj2025. And everybody should be able to, hopefully attending as members of the Queensland Contingent, will have an awesome time in Maryborough in January next year. And I can let you know, just as a side, we currently have 304 days to the opening ceremony, 25 days until applications close. So 31st of March is a critical date. And currently we've got 533 youth participants who have all submitted applications, and we're working through those to follow up any missing information like referees, those sorts of things. But 410 of those are scouts and 123 are Ventura participants as well. And I'll talk about the camping arrangements for our Ventura participants if anyone's thinking how's all that going to work as well. So tonight's going to be a bit of a crash course, I guess, in jamborees. Some people may know what they are, others may not, and that's okay. We'll do a bit of background on those, and then we'll get some specifics about the where, the when, the how, the why, and of course the how much. So I guess the first thing we should do is talk about is what a jamboree isn't. I guess there's some perceptions out there that a jamboree is, just a bit like a patrol camp. Well, it's not, and it's certainly not a unit camp unless you've got 6 patrols in your unit, scout unit, and they are all, and one patrol is cooking for everybody. It's certainly not a district camp, and it's very much larger than an elite camp as well. So where there may be 100 other scouts. It's certainly not a coveree, and where all the meals are all provided and cooked, and all your campsites all up and good to go for you. Jamboree is certainly not one of those either. And it's not a lagoonaree either. So it's not a camp that completely for those with special needs, although there will be people with special needs, and that's fine. It just depends on the level of support is needed, and that could be through carers or other means as well. So Jamboree is none of those things. But what it is a massive national camp for scouts aged 11 to 14 years. And at this time, because we didn't have Aj2022, we're letting scouts aged 15 and 16-year-old Ventura scouts will be able to attend as well. So older Venturers, so 17-year-old Venturers and maybe 18 But rovers, leaders, adult helpers can also come along. It's just not for the scout section in terms of leaders supporting, but it's actually for any member of Scouts Queensland. We're hosting it, and so the more support we get for the Jamboree to run activities and to provide support throughout the whole Jamboree for anything that needs to happen, such as sites and services, or it could be catering, it could be stores, could be in the sub camps. There's a whole lot of things going on. So most Scouts will only get one chance in their life to attend a Jamboree. And because 2022 was cancelled, so that's why we've got the Venturers attending. And then older ones can come as support workers. So Jamboree is 10 to 12 days, and in Queensland's case, it is 12 days. So Jamboree is being promoted as from the 6th of January to the 15th of January. Queensland Contingent arrives the day before, so we're there on the 5th of January, and we depart a day after on the 16th of January. And that's because we're the host state branch, and we like to make sure that we're there to welcome our new arrivals from the other branches, and we also support them when they need to catch buses in the middle of the night. We've given them a place where they can perhaps play cards or grab a couple of hours sleep before they have to jump on a bus at 2 o'clock in the morning to fly down to Brisbane to get an early flight, or just give them a place where they can sit quietly and wait for their transport to arrive and get them to heading home. So, and there's about 600 at this stage who are also coming from overseas. So some of the troops or units, I should say, Jamboree units, may very well have some of the internationals camping with them. So that's fairly exciting as well. But a Jamboree is where patrols are really independent within a Jamboree unit, which is made up of 6 patrols looked after by 4 leaders. And each of the leaders within the Jamboree has specific roles. So just some Jamboree basics, I guess. We've been running Jamborees in Australia since 1934-35, where Baden-Powell visited us, and that was in Frankston. First Australian Jamboree was held in Frankston in Victoria, and it's a great experience. AJ's move around the country. This time Scouts Queensland are hosting a Jamboree. The last one was in 2019 in Tailem Bend in South Australia. Victoria was supposed to be in 2022, but because of the uncertainty of COVID, that was cancelled. It was just a lot of money to be put up by a host state, and they weren't prepared to put those sorts of funds at risk for a national event. So they just held a local event for themselves. And after Aj2025, the Jamboree cycle will be changed to 4 years. So the next Jamboree after 2025 will be 2029. So there's a bit of information and background about Jamborees, but we have been running these for a long time. Just on the side, I attended my very first Jamboree in 1970-71, a little place in the city of Campbelltown called Leppington, and as a young 14-year-old. And so that puts a bit of an age to me. And we were Troop L1, and I was patrol leader number 6. So it's called the Jamboree of the New Endeavour, and Leppington, New South Wales was just rolling hills of just grassland for sheep and cattle, and they turned that into a Jamboree site. And speaking of Jamboree sites, here is what Aj2013 looked like. That's about 2/3 of the Jamboree site. You can see the main arena there right at the top of the picture, and then just to the immediate left of that was where's the Q store. The orange bit, I guess, in the middle is really the main arena where all the mall area where the contingents were. And then around that is activities and campsites. And even to the left of that picture, which you can't see, which is out of frame, there's 2 very large campsites that house a heap of kids in there as well. So, and there are activities such as the abseiling, the milk crate stacking, the 6-runner, flying fox, I guess, or area runway that was out there as well, and climbing walls. All sorts of stuff was on site at the Jamboree. We had a circus on site, and then at night there was lots of entertainment with people like Jessica Malboy, Cosentino, Justice Crew. I guess all the kids will probably know who these people are. Perhaps us older people may or may not. I don't know. We'll see how we go. But that's what Aj2013 looked like, and I imagine it will be very similar for Aj2025. So we run jamborees, I guess, because we want to encourage the physical, intellectual, social, emotional, and spiritual development of young people. And Jamboree really is a crash course in the Scout program, an intense 11 days with friends, old and some maybe new as well. So, which is fantastic. It's linked to increasing resilience in young people and comes with the benefits like more positive mental health that can change one person for the rest of their life. And a Jamboree is a life-changing experience. Lots of stories of parents ringing Scouts Queensland saying, "What have you done to my child? They're washing their own clothes now, or they're cooking meals for us, but they're just getting too much food because they still think they're cooking for 40 people." So it takes them a few days after the Jamboree to get over what's actually they've experienced while they've been at AJ. But AJ, each person will care for themselves, but they'll also be helping others doing share of the cooking and other chores within the Jamboree patrol. Like a typical day, I guess, will be that some of the patrols will go off-site. Some patrols will stay on-site and do on-site activities, and then other patrols may be assigned as duty patrols, so they get all the meals cooked and all that sort of stuff, making sure the campsite's tidy, and then their Jamboree Scout leader might let them go to do a couple of the activities, because there'll be a method where they can get fast-tracked into some of the activities that they might need to do for maybe their award if they're running an award, or just to go out and have some fun, maybe go and get an ice cream or a drink, go and swap some badges, go and visit some of the other troops, all those sorts of things as well. But lots of fun, lots of new experience, lots of friends. So it's just 2 weeks away from home, but Scouts come home 2 years older, more often than not. So Jamboree is generally eligible for members of the Scout section aged 11 to 14, but for AJ where 15 and 16 can come along as well. So the current camping arrangement is, and some parents and leaders have been concerned that we're not having venturers being in charge of the patrols in the Scout troop or the Jamboree Scout unit. That's not going to be the case. Once applications close, our contingent will reach out to all the venturers and give them a couple of choices in terms of their camping arrangements, whether they want to form a patrol of venturers within a Jamboree unit, so 5 patrols of Scouts and 1 patrol of venturers. Depending on how many venturers are, there might be 2 patrols of venturers, but it'll be the venturers will form their own patrol. Or if there's enough venturers who are interested, they may very well form their own Jamboree unit and operate quite independent of the Scout units that are at the Jamboree as well. And of course, there are badge work requirements, not just the age, the badge work requirements where they need to do 10 nights camping as a Scout or as a venturer. They also need to achieve milestone 1 as a Scout or as a venturer. And they need, with their nights camping, they need to have 3 nights that are consecutive. So people use the long weekends as an opportunity to get those 3 consecutive nights up. Also, each applicant will provide a referee. It's usually the Scout leader or the group leader, and they will let us know whether each applicant is okay to attend the Jamboree, because attending a Jamboree, it's not a right. It's not a right, I guess. It's a privilege to go, and it's really more of a selection process, I guess, to go as well. It's just not automatic. Apply and you go. Sometimes there's some things that we need to deal with, and some challenges from time to time, but we work with the leaders and the groups in getting through those as well. For leaders, also have a fantastic time at Jamborees. I've been to lots of them. I've been to every state where they've held Jamborees in Australia, and I can show you some amazing memories, whether it be in Perry Lakes in Perth, or whether it be here up in Maryborough in AJ 2013, where I had the privilege of running on-site activities. Also ran on-site activities for Ballarat, which was the coldest Jamboree ever. Not surprising, though, it was Ballarat. What can I say? Anyway, it was an interesting Jamboree. Lots of rain, lots of cold, and made life interesting in terms of running activities. Yeah, and Scouts, when they're attending the Jamboree, they are usually put with other members of their home group. We don't split them up, so they're all together. And if there's one or two leaders from their group attending, we try and have at least one leader from their home group, so the scouts have got a familiar face and somebody they can talk to as well. So there's lots of choices there in terms of how they'll be accommodated and looked after in that way. And special diets and all those sorts of things are all part of the mix. And I can say from experience in Aj 2013, special diets were really, really well looked after. I've seen some pretty shocking things happen to kids on special diets and in the past, but I can tell you, I can assure you that Queensland do it better than anybody else. Yeah, so a jamboree is a great experience, but we do need leaders, rovers, and other adventurers to make it all happen. And you don't have to come from the scout section, as I said before, to attend the jamboree and support the jamboree. So just the key dates, I guess. Yep, opening ceremony, 6th of January, 15th of January is the closing, so 10 days. But for Queensland, we move in on the 5th and move out on the 16th, so which is pretty exciting as well. The jamboree site itself is Maryborough Equestrian and Showground, Maryborough Showgrounds and Equestrian Park. It's a place where we had it in Aj 2013, so very familiar site to us. And Maryborough, for those who don't know, is about 3 hours and 15 minutes north of Brisbane, or from Brisbane Airport, just straight up the Bruce Highway. If you've ever travelled north and gone to Bundaberg and beyond, and those sorts of places, you've probably passed the jamboree site's front door. Scouts will be travelling to and from the jamboree by bus or coach, with some of our scouts who live further away, like Cairns and Townsville, Mount Isa and Longreach, will probably be flown into Brisbane and then bussed up to the airport. So it'll be a long day for those guys. Like I said, we held the jamboree in 2013, and this is what our site looks like. A very, very familiar site. It's well serviced, lots of trees, good cover, and where there isn't, there's usually lots of water around. And people can see like spray hoses and those sorts of things. And the on-site fire brigade, they don't mind emptying their tanks just to make sure their pumps are working and those sorts of things. And scouts sort of get in the way, I guess, of some of that water. So it's just a lot of fun and they have a great time. Police are also on site, so they set up a police station. In Queensland Ambulance Station, we'll have an area where they'll be able to come and go if they're required, because we have a full medical centre set up on site at the jamboree, so including a dentist as well. So we'll be able to treat some of those other things. For more serious, that'll be transported by ambulance or contingent vehicles to Harvey Bay Hospital. So unless it's more serious than that, and then it would be down into Brisbane. So, but we've not had any major incidences where we've had to do that in the past, but we've certainly made good use of Harvey Bay Hospital. So, but you know, we look after everybody as best we certainly can, and we've got the facilities and the support like first aid, medical centre. So we've got doctors and nurses who are going to be on site during the jamboree, handling all those sorts of emergencies that we may encounter. So how much, I guess, is the bottom line. So the cost for scouts and eligible adventurous scouts attending the jamboree as participants, the cost is $2,400. And this includes everything, and I mean everything. It includes all their food, their accommodation, their activities, their jamboree kit, their Queensland Contingent kit, and there's even allowance if scout unit patrol jamboree units want to have their own shirt. There's an allowance within that fee that will accommodate that as well, because that's one of the things that people do. Jamboree scout leaders like to identify their scouts from within their unit. So more often than not, they'll get a shirt done as well. So there's a bit of stuff there, but it's all the transport as well to and from the jamboree is incorporated in that fee. We hire all the equipment, so things like all those big bell tents, we hire them from Scouts Queensland, plus all the jamboree equipment that we use as well to set up each patrol or each jamboree scout unit so that they can be accommodated for the 10 to 12 days while they're in Maryborough. So the only other money that the children or the scouts and the venturer scouts or anyone else is on site might need would be your own spending money, perhaps for a drink or an ice cream, or to buy a souvenir to take home back for mum, dad, or carers or whoever, relatives and distant uncles and whoever they want to buy a souvenir, and there'll be quite a large range of souvenirs on offer. for all others that are working at the site, so the older venturers, the rovers, leaders, and other eligible adults who are supporting Jamboree, their fee is $1,680. And that's, you can see, it's quite a bit of a difference between the 2,400 and the 1,680. That's because we're appreciating that those people are giving up their time and perhaps their holidays to come to Jamboree, and so they may choose, to come along based on that it is a discounted price. And that's thanks to the Jamboree's executive committee who've done that, so they're driving much of that discount. When people apply, you need to go through to apply. It's not the application system that Scouts Queensland uses, which people might have remembered using for Coveree or LEAP. It is a separate system. It's a national activity, so it's a national system. So the way to access that is through, if you just Google Aj2025 or through Queensland, the Queensland Contingent website as well. And you can Google both of those. You can hit apply here, and that'll take you into the online event management system that we're using for this particular event. So it's important that you do that. We've had a few issues where people have gone to the Coveree site or the application portal in Scouts Queensland, and it's not the right one. And unfortunately, we've had a few people who've made a few complaints, I guess, through Contingent, saying that our portal's not working. It's mainly because people are on the wrong one. Thanks. I'll have to come back to those questions. I did see one. They're coming up really quickly, Nairi, so
there's only two questions that we might interrupt for just a sec, especially because we're on the how much. So we've got one question, and I don't actually know the answer to this, so I'm sure you will though, John. What banking do we have on site? So are there ATMs, and what sort of fees will be associated with that if we do have ATMs?
Look, in the past, we have had a cashless society on site, and so kids or youth members or adults use cards. You'll probably find, I'll need to refer that back to the Jamboree Executive Committee because they're who are running the site. So I can make some inquiries and come back to the inquiry there.
And we can always pop that on socials.
Yeah, an FPOS card, a debit card or an FPOS card would be the way to go. If they're running short, I guess the thing is they can always contact mum and dad and say, can we top it up, all those sorts of things. But that's what we did. I'm pretty sure that's what we did last time. We just used cashless, and it was just using debit cards to the bank of mum and dad. You're right, Robin. And so so we're able to do that. So So
one of the next question, which kind of ties in the last couple of comments, is there an amount you might suggest for souvenirs? So Robin's suggested 100. We've got some other suggestions here saying 50, and we've got another group in Aj2019 sent $100 cash with theirs. Do we have any guidelines on that one?
Not at this stage. I know from my experience from a Jamboree troop leader, we did have some cash, and we kept that, and it was in smallish denominations, and we kept a bank details of cash on site. But that was like, I'm talking back to AJ 2010. So I think we've come a long way in a cashless society since. Look, it's almost how long's a piece of string question, isn't it? Depends on how much ice cream and souvenirs and those sorts of things I wanted. But I would perhaps, we'll come to the mobile phone question in a minute if you'd like to. We'll just hold off on those. Maybe $20 a day. I'm just guessing. So I just need to, I can think about that, and because I don't know what the souvenir options are at this stage, because we haven't closed off applications. So orders for things like contingent gear and all that sort of stuff hasn't happened yet, but we do have our suppliers standing by for our final numbers to get those orders, because for some of our suppliers it could be a 6-month lead in for the Jamboree. So we just got to take that on board.
There's
You can hit me
no
with
other
another-
money-related questions, but we
Yeah.
can park the phone one for just a minute and have a look at the next slide if you like, John.
Yep, sure. No worries. So payment details. So the payment schedule that we've got is on the Contingent website. So if you go into the Q&A section, the details of payments, when they're due, how much is due. Also in the application system, you can choose to pay bi-weekly or monthly, so you can set that up so it automatically comes through. Or if you've got fundraising activities happening within your group and they've got a lump sum that they want to give to or to put towards particular members, all we need to do is you make the deposit. We just need to know about it. So through the Queensland Contingent, through our finance department, and basically you need to provide details of the person's application number, which will be their Jamboree number, and who that person is and how much of that money is being contributed towards that person. We've had a couple of those already, but there certainly are some some payment options that have certainly make things a bit flexible as well. So yeah. Fundraising, of course, cost of Jamboree. So thinking about raising money, and some groups already have formed fundraising committees made up of parents and youth members, I guess, or mainly parents of kids that are going, or youth members that are going to the Jamboree. So they're acting quite independent but still reporting to their local group. And but getting scouts to maybe do some jobs like the old bobber job, do jobs around the house to earn money. The bottle and can recycling is fantastic. Groups are out doing fertilizer drives, making good money out of those things. It's whatever you want to do. If it works and it raises funds, absolutely go for it. And scouts, they can do some big, the parents of the kids, the youth members going to the Jamboree, I've got to stop saying kids, sorry folks, is an opportunity for them to get together and work as a team to raise funds. So later on in the year, there could be some opportunity to apply for some funding, but it's usually in roundabouts October, September, October, where that'll be released by the Lord Baden Power Society. They spend considerable amounts of time raising funds to go towards disadvantaged youth so they can attend major events, and they may pick up part of the Jamboree fee. And there could be, I guess, other opportunities that may be announced in the second half of this year as well. So for leaders, keep an eye out on the Chief's newsletter. For families, keep an eye out on the family news, because there'll be information in regards to those opportunities later on. So this couple of girls that I think this is Taylor and Ben, an activity called Smash It, and you can see just to their left, I guess, or to your right, you can see what's left of what they were smashing at Aj2013. We purchased 16 vehicles, had glass and engine and fluids removed, and we provided a whole lot of PPE for young people, and the activity was called Smash It. And so you can probably guess, and you can see some mallets in the background, and they just had a great time. And we certainly got 2 very flat cars removed from Maryborough every day. So hope that's an activity that might appear. But yeah, so happy to take on more questions. That's the bulk of the presentation. And yeah, and the last slide is just, I guess, is time for your action. But you can see there that that's the end of a Challenge Valley activity. You can see that those clothes will probably never be the same. So it's probably an idea that when you're packing your gear, and we will supply a packing list, that there's some clothes that you may never wish to see ever again. Because they certainly come back changed colour and changed clothing. So yeah, so time for you to do action. Applications are open, and as the Chief Commissioner keeps putting in his newsletter and telling us, that we want more people to attend so we can have a great time and put on a fantastic event. But you can either go through the Aj2025 website or the Queensland Contingent website as noted there. So at that stage, that's the end of the presentation. So I'll open it up for questions, Nairi.
So we've got 3 so far, John, which we didn't touch on. So the first one is mobile phones. So we've got some suggestions from experienced Scout leaders mentioning maybe don't bring them. But it would be good for everyone on the webinar to understand what the policy is around mobile devices.
Yep, so the Queensland Contingent, Nairi, we thought long and hard about this, and it is our preference that people do not bring mobile phones. If they choose to do so, they do that at their own risk. We will not be providing any charging, and the Jamboree site will not be charging any at the same time. And also, we will not be responsible for their phones. Some others do allow them, some other branches do allow them, but the phones are in a lockbox during the day and they come out for an hour, and they have strict rules on the phone usage, so it doesn't leave the troop site or the unit site. And also, there are, I guess, restrictions on the conversation. So, yeah, so like I said, our preference is not. But you know, we just got to be careful, I guess, with mobile phones, because the wrong information can get out at the end of the day, and we just want to make sure that the right information is getting out. But I guess if we're not allowing mobile phones or preferring not to have mobile phones, I guess our young people just need to understand if things aren't working for them, they need to have a voice, and they need to let us know, from their leaders within their Jamboree unit through to the support staff that we have at the Contingent, as well as our medical centre as well. So you know, if they're not having a good time, we need to be, how can we support them, and how can we change things up to support them so they're having a great time? Because at the end of the day, that's what we want everybody to do, is have a great time.
Wonderful. All right. So the next question we have is around the applications online. So some of the sections are locked down at the moment. So once you hit submit, as you're aware, John, different sections of the online application get locked down until the approval process. But we have a question: if some incorrect information has been written down, such as transport, how do we get that changed?
Yep, so you can send an email to contact@aj.scoutsqld.com.au and quote the application number and the person's name and what the issue or what needs to be updated, and we should be able to fix that for you from our end.
Awesome. So our next question is, we all know that Maryborough is an awesome spot for a Jamboree. It's also an awesome spot for a Kiwi Woggle and a fantastic spot for a Coveree. So we're after, on behalf of the group, a little bit of maybe some selling points. What's going to be different about AJ at Maryborough, where, you know, a Scout or a venturer may have been a couple of times already?
Yeah, look, it's not about this site, I guess. At the end of the day, we utilise the site to accommodate to up to 12,000 people. So Coveree is about 800. This is 12,000 to 14,000 adults and young people experiencing a national event with a number of international guests as well. So that's very different. And the activities that are on offer are very different to those other events that you mentioned as well. So it's that experience of attending a Jamboree and having a great time, mixing with people that you've never seen, swapping badges, and from international badges from New Zealand or Fiji or Samoa or US or UK. And we've got applicants. I've even seen an application from Switzerland. So there's certainly a wide variety of apps coming from all over the place, because people are hungry for Jamborees globally. COVID put an end to a lot of stuff, and some world events didn't happen. Some obviously local events didn't happen. So people are hungry to come to a Jamboree, and I guess the Australian dollar to compared to some of the overseas currencies is quite favourable for them to, yeah, well, I can jump on a plane and I can get out to Queensland and we can have a great time. But yeah, look, it's not about the site and the way we utilise it. that mall area tends to be the focus, say, for example, for Cubbery that I've seen in the past. At Jamboree, we use it all. We are a city for 12 days, larger than Maryborough itself, with all the same infrastructure, except we probably don't have a library.
Awesome. Well, I think that was a pretty good answer.
Thank you.
So our next question, it was a two-part question, but one has already been addressed around mobile phones. But a good question, will Scouts be able to do a load of clothes washing at the Jamboree?
Oh, they certainly will. They certainly will, but it's not in a laundromat. They won't be able to send it off-site, any of that sort of stuff. It's not a home delivery service. No Uber laundry here. We have, over the years of running Jamborees, we have on-site, in the troop site or the unit sites, little washing machines. They consist of, I guess, a 20-litre bucket with a lid and a plunger, and put some clothes in there, some water in there, half a cap full of liquid detergent, and you just sit there with the plunger going up and down, up and down, up and down for a few minutes. So you usually, on your duty day, is a great day, you sit there with your whole patrol and you chat about what's been happening at the Jamboree and all the fun you've been having and great stories, and sitting there all doing your washing together. And that's your wash cycle. Then the water will get emptied into our silage system. They top up with fresh, clean water, and that becomes the rinse. And they sit back in their circle, plunging up and down, and that becomes the rinse cycle. And then it's the old, how do I dry it? Well, get your arm muscles built up, bit of exercise, rinse, squeezing that water out. And then most troop sites will have they'll make some sort of clothesline that they can hang. And if it's Maryborough in the middle of summer, they'll probably be dry in 10 or 15 minutes. So,
That's awesome. That's really good.
I guess just makes you think about the sort of clothing. So quick dry, those sorts of things. With our contingent gear, we'll be reaching out to people where they want a short sleeve polo or a long sleeve polo as well. So I'm currently negotiating that with the supplier, how we manage that. So
there was some very, very creative washing systems at the New Zealand Jamboree in January this year. Very creative.
Yep.
Okay, our next question is for unit leaders. So if there are unit leaders that need a bit of extra gear to set their unit up successfully, are they able to drive to site before AJ starts with a trailer containing the extra gear?
Short answer to that is yes. That is controlled by Trevor O'Hara and his team in Safe Trans, and there will be a window of opportunity prior to Christmas this year where troops or Jamboree scout leaders will be able to bring gear on site. That they just need to be aware that it needs to be fully secure and weatherproofed, because all of the Jamboree, all the Queensland gear will also be on site just prior to Christmas, and we are in the same conditions. It'll be on the site. People won't be allowed to touch it, but it'll be fully secured over that Christmas break for inclement weather in case it occurs. But yes,
awesome.
There will be an opportunity to do that.
All right, so our next question is, do we have to travel by bus to the site?
If you are a member of the contingent as a member of a Jamboree unit, so you're a youth member or a leader of a Jamboree unit, the expectation is that the short answer to that question is yes, you would be expected to travel with the contingent to the Jamboree with members of your unit. Because what happens is that you might board in Toowoomba, but not all the kids from Toowoomba may not necessarily be in the same Jamboree unit, because what we do is we mix country and city folk up, and we do that in August in preparation for the Jamboree Scout Leaders Weekend that we hold in that first weekend in September. And so people will need to, contingent members will need to be travelling together by bus. So because when they get to Maryborough, outside of Maryborough at one of the schools, we actually get everybody off the buses with their gear. We put them into their troop sites. The troop, each of the Jamboree units will jump on one bus. So if you say Toowoomba and Gumdale and somewhere else, that makes up the 36 youth and the 4 leaders. You'll be thrown on one bus and you'll be taken to your Jamboree site. So we'll be delivering. So we've got a bit of shuffling to do off-site, but you'll travel as a complete unit on-site and delivered to your site. So that's one reason. There is opportunities for independent travel, but that needs to be on a case-by-case basis. And obviously our budget is predicated on 90% of the contingent travelling on the buses, because that's what we've got the quotes for. And that's where we're organising the buses to depart from particular points around Queensland. So if you're from Brisbane, probably from the Brisbane Entertainment Centre. If you're on the north side, if you're on the south side, probably from Chandler. Then there could be Ipswich. Could be a bus starting at Stanthorpe, travelling through Warwick through to Toowoomba, and then headings from Toowoomba straight to the site. It just depends on where people are, how we're organising these buses. This is a bit of a minefield, but our preference is that everyone travels by bus, the contingent bus. We will make exceptions, but it is a case-by-case basis.
Fantastic. So the next one is a fun one. We all know we live in Queensland and we have the most amazing weather in Queensland, and we're lucky to be hosting the event in Queensland, and it's going to be summer. So what have we got in place, John, to consider the temperature, the location, the season? It's going to be hot. What are we doing?
Yep. Wear a hat, drink lots of water. So the contingent is supplying each applicant, member of the Queensland contingent, with a hydration backpack. So they will be able to constantly have a good supply of water. The Jamboree is supplying hats. We are giving, as a contingent, the option for long or short sleeve polos, and those sort of things. But around the site, there'll be spray hoses. This isn't, like, I'm not being flippant, but this is not our first rodeo. We've been running Jamborees in January, and I can assure you the average temperature at Tailem Bend was 43 degrees. Looks like those kids in that picture who are at Tailem Bend were having a pretty great time, despite the fact that it was 43 degrees that day. So we are doing everything we can. We're very mindful. We're Queenslanders. We live in this state. We know how hot it can get. I remember some time ago running a rover moot in Landsborough, and average temperature at Landsborough for the whole rover moot was in excess of 40 degrees as well. So we just keep people cool as we can. So I said the fire brigade are very happy to spray water. The police usually have soaker hoses and water pistols with them. So yeah, we find ways to keep cool, and we'll have slushy machine at Queensland contingent, so people can come and get a bit of a slush as well.
Wonderful. So the next one is from a leader's perspective. Do we have a rough timeline for those leaders who are going, for them to find out what their job allocation might be?
Well, we'll let the applications close first, I guess. And also we will then be having a look at preferences. So in terms of roles, now there's there's two groups of people looking at these preferences. One is the JEC, the Jamboree Executive Committee, because obviously they need leaders to help sites and services, help with distribution of food, help with activities. All those sorts of things need to happen, as well as Queensland contingent. If we've got over 500, we've got the makings of a significant number of units. So our preference will be looking at people who want to be with the youth and looking after youth in the lines as well. And usually our first port of call will be those who are listed as scout leaders, or those that have got previous Jamboree or major event experience as well. So there's a few answers to that single question, but as far as I'm aware, let's wait till applications close, and then I guess the Queensland contingent and the Jamboree Executive Committee will get together and have those sorts of discussions.
Fantastic. So the next one is, do you know if there will be a Cub Open Day? And if there is one, when might it be?
Yep, so the Future Scout Day as far as I know, is going to be the middle weekend of the Jamboree, which I think is I think there's going to be 3 open days, 11, 12 and 13th. I need to confirm that, but 11, 12, 13. So I say the Saturday the 12th would be Future Scout Day, or whatever they're going to call it. We've called it Future Scout Day in the past. So to allow other people to come on site and visit. Families just need to remember that they need to register to visit. It's not a open the front door and let the public in. Doesn't work like that. People will need to register. So keep an eye out for newsletters and Jamboree, Queensland Contingent information that might come out, Chief's newsletter, all those sorts of things. But absolutely, there will be a visitors' day, and some of the activities will be probably open like we did last time in Future Scout Day. For that middle weekend, so I think it's the 11th, 12th, 13th.
Yeah,
somewhere in there. Yep,
it'll be good. Get the Cub Scouts excited for their turn.
Oh, anyone, yeah, Joey's.
So
I think they're talking
question,
I think they're having a Joey thing as well.
I did hear that. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, good. Good. Wasn't just me.
Yeah. Well, we both might have dreamt it. But
yep.
So the next question is around the kits. So between the AJ kit and the Queensland Contingent kit, are we aware yet how many badges will be supplied, and can we purchase more?
The Jamboree is supplying, so to get this right, the hat, the scarf, the woggle, and I think 2 Jamboree badges. One for the uniform, of course, and then one to whatever they want to do with it. The Queensland Contingent is also, and you can see our badge on the, well, it's close. There's a little slight alteration of that, but in our PowerPoint slide that's there, you can actually see that's what our Queensland Contingent badge looks like. So we've gone with a turtle, and the colours of that turtle represent all 5 sections of scouting, and also for some reason they've added purple, so we'll say the commissions get included as well. So yeah, and we are supplying 2 of those per participant as well. There may be, if we end up with surplus, we may offer those for sale during the Jamboree via the Contingent tent, or through, there could be an on-site scout shop where other merchandise or surplus merchandise from the contingents may be for sale as well. That's still a work in progress. So not public knowledge with that at the moment. But it's worth mentioning that that's the plan at the moment that the JEC is looking at.
Wonderful. Okay, so our next question is around curfew. So will there be a curfew? And if yes, will it be different for venturers?
So there's 2 venture camps. I guess there's a venture campsite for the working venturers, and then there's what occurs in the Jamboree unit site. Traditionally, there is a curfew, but that's agreed upon within the unit council within the Jamboree unit. So they will decide when everybody needs to be back on site by, and when lights out need to occur. And experienced leaders that have been to Jamborees know that, they follow it. So sometimes that back on site by 9:30, lights out by 10 o'clock. That was the rules in my campsite. But we only had scouts there, so I don't know whether there's going to be any flexible for venturers who are forming as a patrol. But at the end of the day, just remember that the venturers that are attending are choosing to attend the Jamboree, I guess, as scouts. Even though they're older, and they'll be accommodated separate to the scouts, and they'll be forming their own patrols, those sorts of things. At the end of the day, they're there to have the full Jamboree experience. So that may very well include the curfew, but that will be decided. We'll be encouraged each of our Jamboree units to have a unit code that all members of the Jamboree unit will agree to. So that may very well include a curfew. I'm not going to impose curfews and tell my leaders, we'll have some suggestions and conversations around that. But at the end of the day, it'll be up to each individual Jamboree unit to do that. Just remember that a Jamboree is, for these kids, 12 days. And whilst they're on site from the 5th, some will be starting their travel maybe on the 4th to get to somewhere so they can get on a bus. And then the same at the other end. So it's a lot. They're in it for the long haul, and yeah, they get to the top of the 7th innings, and they're a bit tired, and so they get a bit crabby and cranky and a bit emotional. So yeah, maybe strict curfews is good for their welfare overall. And they may not see that initially, but I think they may be appreciative of overall. But that's the conversation we'll have with the JSLs.
Wonderful. The next question is, when we go to the local stores, how fast do they usually sell out of everything?
The locals, you mean on site? So like the contingent stuff?
It could be on site, or it could be if there are excursions to Maryborough or Hervey Bay or Australia Zoo.
I can't tell you. I really can't tell you. Like, in terms of one of the popular activities is getting all of the contingent badges. So most of the contingents will gear up to have sufficient badges to sell or to swap, whatever, on site during the Jamboree. But you just got to think it's a financial commitment. And if you've got smaller branches, say such as ACT or Northern Territory, they may only have a few hundred, and they usually might sell out fast. Queensland, we won't. We'll have enough, and that sort of stuff. And but yeah, I can't. Yeah, it's really that's a difficult question to ask, but because it's a commercial decision that people are making, and and you've got this small window of opportunity, I guess, to do stuff. But we don't want to rip people off or anything like that. We want to make an enjoyable experience. But you know, I'm sure the suppliers of the various contingents and the on-site supplier of, because there'll be other merchandise that'll be Jamboree related that'll be sold separately on site. But again, that's a commercial decision by the supplier on that one.
Wonderful. It is a tricky one. I remember a funny conversation about the lolly shop in Maryborough when we were going for Coveree. We need to give them a heads up that we're going, and we will.
We do.
So,
we work really closely with the local community. If you remember Aj2013, all the kids went on site in search of Wally, and it was the Kentucky Fried Chicken of Maryborough that supplied the lunches to every scout. So Macca's wouldn't be in it. They couldn't see. They didn't have the vision, but certainly somebody at KFC saw the vision, and they were able to supply all that food. But obviously, give enough notice. Yeah, hopefully the lolly shop will have lots of lollies. Those traditional lollies too. I like humbugs.
All right, so we've got 3 questions left and 8 minutes on our webinar. So the next question is, what sort of additional equipment should a patrol take to a Jamboree that is not supplied?
Nothing. It's all supplied. Patrols don't need to provide any additional. It's all personal equipment. It's not. Yeah. This isn't a patrol camp. It's not a Coveree. It's not a Elite 23 or 24. It is. You know, they apply. We give them an equipment list, a personal equipment list, and everything else is there. If the Jamboree Scout leader wants to top up by taking their trailer pre-Christmas with extra gear, absolutely. But patrols, no, because some of the patrols may have kids from Longreach with kids from Brisbane. So how does that work? So yeah, it's just not. No. Patrols don't need to. You don't need to think to that level. There will be opportunities for people to nominate to be patrol leaders within a Jamboree Scout unit, but that will happen after the patrols. The patrols will be announced after, probably not until September.
Awesome. All right. So this is a question that we've answered a lot in the last couple of months, John. So you'll be able to talk to it. You've got extensive experience in this question, but we've got some cubs moving to Scouts in the next, say, term. Given the time frame, it might be their only chance at a Jamboree. How should they go about applying? Do they use the same process? I know all the answers to this, of course, but I'll let you talk to it. So take it away.
Okay, thanks, Nori. It is a great question. It is a conundrum for the organisers and Queensland Contingent. We are guided by what's called policy and rules and Queensland branch scout instructions, which is quite clear in terms of to be a scout, you must be 11. To attend a jamboree, you must be 11. To attend a jamboree and meeting the age requirements, you need to complete the other requirements as a scout. Cubberee is a great camp, but it doesn't count towards the camping. Going family camping does not count either. These things are stated on the Queensland website. My suggestion would be that if you've got cubs that are approaching 11 now, that they probably should be getting into scouts as soon as they possibly can. The question I've got, we've got some 11-year-olds, people who are turning 11. Our latest one is 3 days before the jamboree starts. So that's the 3rd of December. So my question back to that person would be, well, how are they going to complete the jamboree requirements in 3 days? Which you can't do because you've got 10 nights camping. So that's the conundrum. I appreciate that there is a conundrum with this, and the next jamboree is 2029. I guess all I can say to that is watch that space. I can't say either way what's going to happen, but it has been pushed up the line back to national saying this has caused an issue, but the contingent's getting caught in it. And at this stage, we are sticking to policy. I don't have the flexibility. I can't change national or state policy. I just don't have. The chief commissioners can, but I can't. So I apologise in advance, but unfortunately my hands are tied when it comes to that. And Nairi knows from her own experience in New Zealand what that's like.
Yeah, that's right. I did have some very young 11-year-olds in my patrol in New Zealand.
Yeah, they're not starting nights again. They're camping as scouts. They're not camping as Cub Scouts. Their tent's not put up for them, and they're not cooking. And somebody's cooking their meals at Cubberee. A scout, they need to be independent patrols, operating independent without guidance from a leader, cooking meals for the whole unit, and also, doing all those things as a scout. So they need that experience as a scout.
And just to elaborate a smidge more too on personal experience, I actually have a Cub Scout right now who turns 11 2 days into the jamboree, who I was considering, finding out how to get her in and send her up to Scouts early. And when I really sat back and thought about it and went, it's not going to work. 10 and a half moving up to Scouts, trying to jam in 10 nights under canvas, trying to get milestone 1, trying to get the absolute cause. It was just a bit of a push, and I wouldn't want her jamboree experience to be a negative one because she was unprepared. So I'm more than happy for her to wait until she's a bit older, and she's going to be an older participant in 2029. But policy and rules, it's there for a reason. So yeah, but I might, we've got a few more questions coming in, John, and I really only got 3 minutes, so we'll have to get the answers really short now. Yeah. So the next one is, we are recording this, so that is visible to everyone. Where can we find this later? So the people, we've had about 42 at max attend this evening. Where will this be uploaded?
We can upload it to the Queensland Contingent website via the Scouts Queensland site. Or just Google Queensland Contingent Aj2025. We'll get up there in the next day or so. We are running another one of these on the 17th, so for part 2.
Yep, wonderful. All right. Are you aware, John, if the badges fit together to make the shape of Australia?
No, I'm not aware, and they don't.
Okay.
Yeah, because some of the smaller states think that they need the biggest badge. So I tried to go back to our traditional size, but unfortunately some of the other branches aren't playing nice.
It'll make for a really nice blanket collage when you collect the whole set. Yeah. Yep. So the next question is, will the youth members be sleeping in their own tents?
No.
So they'll be in belt tents.
Short answer is no, unless there's a special circumstance that they require their own accommodation. We supply everything. So So the bell tents that people have seen before that are around the place, they are the tents that we take, and a patrol, there'll be one of those tents per patrol. We don't have this, we don't have the size of a Jamboree site, unit site to accommodate 40 people in their own tents. So it just doesn't work.
Yeah,
We'll
and then we've
put
got
up a kitchen and dining. Yeah, go.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Air mattress. So if they're taking their own air mattress, we need to make sure that they have a pump in their kit. I'm not sure. I think that's a statement or a reminder for everyone rather than an actual question.
Yep, well, I hope they got big lungs.
All right. And then, so the next couple of questions are just revisiting the age and the minimum requirements of attending. So just some clarifications. So the scouts need to complete the 10 nights as a scout before going to Jamboree so that they have the skills as a scout to make it through the Jamboree. So thank you to Stuart who popped that in there, very experienced scout leader. And then 3 of those nights need to be in succession. And look at that, it is right on 8 p.m.
Long weekend.
And I have run out of questions, except one more just popped in. So give me 1 sec. Can we bring our own electrical system, so battery box and lights for our campsite?
No, we supply that.
Fantastic.
We supply all of that. If they want, if a Jamboree scout leader wants to add more, that's fine. But at the end of the day, we will be supplying lighting. So everything from catering to washing to sleeping to all that sort of stuff, that is part of the Queensland contingent equipment that we supply.
Wonderful. That is all of our questions, John.
Fantastic, folks. Look, you can, if you've got further questions, you can certainly contact us through contact@aj.scoutsqld.com.au, and we will continue the conversation if you like. Yeah, and we will monitor that. And but can I thank everybody who's attended tonight? Very much appreciated that we had 44 online, so that's fantastic. And our next one will be in a couple of weeks' time on the 17th, Sunday the 17th, that so we can do this again. But
and just to extend a little bit more, the 17th of March will be the same presentation, the same opportunity to answer questions. So please don't feel like you need to join again, but please encourage the people around you who might have missed tonight's session, because it is a section night for some tonight. So the next one is on a Sunday.
Terrific. Thank you very much, Nairi, for monitoring the chat, and thank you everybody for your questions as well. Very much appreciated. And if we can help you in any way to make the experience better for young people at the Jamboree or before, don't hesitate to contact us. Thank you.